Hello everyone, how you doing? And welcome back to Skye and Evan in the morning. And today, Evan, today we're celebrating 1 year of Skye and Evan in the
1
morning.
year.
One whole
1 year
year.
of rambling about random movies we recommend for each other. I love it.
Yeah. Absolutely amazing idea. I'm glad we did that. Oh,
Yeah, same here.
yeah, it's been a
Uh,
fun year, and obviously, when we recorded the 50th special, you said, "Hey, we should do something special for the year anniversary too." And then I realized, because you've had this idea for a long time of what we should cover. So what we're gonna cover today is Avengers Endgame. I know, very topical 6 years after Endgame came out, but
well, it's one of those things too where we haven't covered much of the MCU. I mean, hell, is Deadpool and Wolverine the one MCU movie we
I
watched?
actually think it
Or
is, yeah.
yeah, we don't like. And I always
Oh
say
no,
this to
actually we did
people that I'm just
Eternals. We did Eternals.
true. Yeah. That was an interesting rewatch. What I always just say to people that I just don't really watch the MCU because, like, I don't know what your experience with it was. Like, I'm sure everyone had experience with the MCU, liked the MCU, or regularly watched the movies at one point. Like the
Yeah.
first one came out in 2008. But maybe a lot of people like have a drop off point or something that like kind of did it for, and there's all these videos of like, it went wrong at She-Hulk, or it went wrong at like No Way Home, or it went wrong at like, fucking Moon Knight. But I've always just said, I'm like, it went wrong at Endgame. That's where it went wrong, because before they were top of the mountain building to Infinity War, and then there was something that happened around that same time. I don't think it was any of the shows or any of the movies in Phase 4. I think it was what Endgame does to the world building, especially, and the story and characters. It poisons what comes after. It just does a lot of damage to the MCU, and that's why I think we're at the position that we are with the MCU right now, because I, I'm pretty behind. I haven't watched a lot of the shows and a lot of the movies because I just, like, out of disinterest. There was a time when Wakanda Forever was one of the most recent movies I'd seen, and I saw No Way Home, but I just don't
Guardians
really watch
3.
these movies anymore. And it's because, yeah, but it's because of this movie. It's because of this movie and what comes after that I'm just like, yeah, this is kind of why I've given up. So
Yeah? Yeah. Okay. Interesting stuff. So, the thing is, I rewatched it. I rewatched it last night. Well, I finished it this morning, but I started it last night. Um and yeah, I don't know. I don't know exactly where you want to start. I know you have many thoughts about the movie and just in general what it does in terms of like world building, especially with the 5 year time jump, which is very
do you
much
want
a can of worms.
do you want to just start with that? I mean, we may as well, right? Or like,
Sure.
so yeah. Um 5 year time jump. There were so many ways. Actually, like, so one of the things I actually want to start with is like, I imagine you rewatched this, but you didn't rewatch like Infinity War like
Yeah.
back to back. But I the more that I thought about this movie, I am always just stunned that this is what they made in response to Infinity War. It doesn't feel like it was made by the same filmmakers.
I agree with that.
Like, for one, the the color grading is its own deal, and like the reason why that is because the time traveling, just straight up, like, why does it look like cement more than damn near any other Marvel movie? It's because like they need to make everything match, so that's why the movie doesn't look like it has its own style or flavor. But the story and what they took it, I haven't watched all of the audio commentary, but I actually began making a video years back. This is when I was like making my Breaking Bad video. But I was going to do a video about this, and I started watching the creator commentary with uh Anthony and Joe Russo, and the and like the writers Marcus and McFeely. But I the scene where Thanos gets killed, it's so funny. They literally say that they were having trouble with what to do with Thanos in the story, and then they're like, "What if we just kill him?"
Hmm.
And it's like, because that's a bad idea. You've
Yeah.
killed the villain of your story in the opening scene. What are you talking about? Fuck you. And so I, oh my God. So many of the decisions in this movie just feel like that, though. They feel like they didn't really know what to do after how big of an ending Infinity War had.
Yeah.
And it's just like,
Well, I was
this is it.
thinking, I was when I was watching it yesterday, the first like 30 minutes, like before the 5 year time jump, I wouldn't say it's like, phenomenal, but I'd say it's a pretty decent movie. But like there are a few things that just show like, oh, this movie is not trying to do anything. It is very much playing it safe, which is kind of what really pissed me off.
Yeah.
Like for one, imagine like at the start in the Milano, not Milano, sorry, it's the Bowie. Yeah, it's already the new Guardian ship. Sorry. The people alive are
Love how you know
Rocket.
that. I haven't
Uh,
rewatched the Guardians movies in a while, or the
well,
last two anyway.
well, yeah, I remember in the holiday special, especially they call it the Bowie. Anyway, in the ship, the people alive are Tony and Nebula, right? It would have made
Yeah.
so much more sense for Tony to have died in space, and then Nebula just makes it home, and that's a much more interesting movie if Tony dies. Also, instead of that,
Mhm.
maybe if you still want Tony alive, because obviously you want Tony alive, you have him do something to get them back to work. I mean, he literally says he wanted to pull off one last surprise, but he doesn't. It's just Deus Ex Machina Captain Marvel. It's like by that point you're like, okay, so we're just playing it safe. We're not trying to do anything interesting, or trying to like, you know, challenge the characters. They're gonna just like breeze through the
Well,
motions. It's like it's frustrating.
well, honestly, that's the thing about this movie, because this came out around when The Last Jedi came out, and it's funny because like you and I were like a lot more involved with like mainstream movies and like watched like these movies damn near religiously back then.
Yeah.
But this movie does remind me of a lot of the shortcomings of The Last Jedi, but still to this day, people haven't turned on it because
Mm.
people were hugely vitriolic to The Last Jedi for like the world building for the characters, for like what it does to the greater story. And it, even if you like The Last Jedi, like The Rise of Skywalker, it's like it went wrong at a point. It definitely went wrong, and
Yeah.
that's why they haven't made any sequels. And this is similar, but it gives you what you want just on a surface level.
Yeah.
It's
It's
satisfying because they're
basically
just like, hey,
the
fan
point
service,
that a lot of
and
people made about like you wanted Luke Skywalker jumping around with the lightsaber in the third act. It is this
yeah.
movie and it proves that point. Like, yes, you wanted that. Because it does the
Well,
same shit that destroys character and world building, but it gives you the dopamine of like, ooh, fan service, you know?
yeah, and the ending with the poor. This is the thing. We're sitting 5 years after this movie came out. There's been so many of these types of scenes where just everyone portals into the movie and you get like the big showdown. I mean, hell, they literally did it in No Way Home. They used portals.
They did the same
It's
thing in
because of
this
this
Rise of
movie.
Skywalker too, where they did the
Yes,
fucking all the ships showing up on the fucking
I
fight.
don't think they were ripping off this movie necessarily. I don't know how that movie was produced. No one does, but it's it's just like the surface level material where you're just like, yeah, on paper this is satisfying to the average Joe, but it affects the world building. So the snap. So Infinity War happens, and it's this huge thing. I still remember walking away from that theater and being blown away. It is a movie where the villain wins. They don't stop the timer when there's like 2 seconds left to spare and like prevent the bomb or like close the portal. It's like, no, the bad guy wins and ends the world. And it's like that's a big moment building into this movie. There were
Yeah.
so many questions. There were so many different ways you could take the story. And um so the fact that they commit to it, like I said, that whole like, hey, what do we do with Thanos? I'm like, let's kill him. So then Thor just walks out, and then 5 years later, and they commit to that. in
Mm.
this movie. So so much to talk about. And my thing is this is why I have been so disinterested in the MCU. It is because of the snap, and it is because of their continued attempts to downplay it.
Mm-hmm.
One of the biggest things is the time just itself. It's like 5 years. So I'm like, what does that mean? It's like, I guess now in the MCU, when you watch this movie, you were watching like 2024. It's like technically it's 2024, but then
23 to
as
be fair, because it jumped from
yeah,
2018 to 2023.
true. Well, I mean, even more confusing. And that's the thing is everyone
Well, we've
as
basically
the
caught
years
up.
have gone on, yeah, as the years have gone on, they're like, hey,
Yeah, we've
it's
basically
not
caught up.
things.
I
Like, what?
remember I heard that like the day that Daredevil slept with She-Hulk, and She-Hulk was like a week ago or so. So yeah, we're basically caught up now.
What does that mean, caught up? Like, what happened to those 5 years? They
Time,
just like
and in the movies and everything,
time
they just started to
even
do fucking slower. I don't know, man.
it makes no sense. So that for one, it's just great that they're just like, yeah, whatever, 5 years have just passed. But I'm like, you have to look at this in terms of our world because it's almost too perfect. This movie was released in 2019, and then a pandemic happened in 2020. And it's just like, look at what's become of the world in the 5 years ever since
Yeah.
COVID. It's night and day. It's a very different world. Like you could call it psychological, social, like whatever the effects have been since COVID, like people have noticed and it's different. And the idea of half of the world experiencing those 5 years and then from then like characters come back into that world, it would be just insane. There would be like so much time lost. There would be
Well, the
because they
entire
make a
thing
joke.
is that because it's like because even disregarding that, like just the if half the people of the world died, like the world would kind of cease to function, just like outright,
Well,
basically.
I,
Like
I
if
mean, let's just. Do you think that it would basically just be Mad Max? Because I kind of do. Of like, let's be
yeah,
honest, like half of the pop. Like, how
yeah,
could it
probably.
work out? How could
But like
some missile or
it's
some
like
battle line like
I
just
don't know. It's like a fucking it's superhero movie. I can kind of like okay, sure, the world kept going, whatever. But when you bring them back,
yeah,
you're
well,
basically doubling the population within a second. You're bringing back
yeah,
people that have been dead for 5 years. There have been people who moved on, married someone else. You know what I mean? Like people mourned
yeah.
their
So,
children, and their children are back now. Like the long term psychological. There's so much you need to explore in the world building after this, but the movie just really glosses over it. I think Far From Home annoys me more because they make a joke out of the blip.
yeah, and they addressed it. They had to, and it's just like, hey, everything's fine. And Brad is one of those. He like was behind for five
Yeah.
years, and it's like he's hot now. He wasn't hot before, and it's like he experienced. He was like
He
he
experienced
thought
the
so many people
worst
were dead for that. Like,
traumatic,
yeah,
like the most traumatic thing in all of existence.
well, you just I need to just and this is the thing. So anybody watching this, like the response you'll probably get if you talk about some of the things that we're going to talk about is just like, come on, man, it's the MCU. Like I just don't think about it too much. Like it's just these movies just like meant for entertainment, popcorn. I'm like they were the ones who introduced these ideas. It's not my fault that I'm thinking about
Yeah.
this. They're they're the ones who decided to commit to these ideas, and I'm just like,
Well, and
so
I think
half
what's
of the population
frustrating.
it's just to get this
Yeah,
out of
yeah,
the
yeah,
way.
go.
Half the population, um, in this movie, it was questionable in Infinity War. We were just like, hey, maybe it's like the whole universe, like half of all life across the universe is gone. So I'm like, maybe it's not that bad. Maybe it's only like a couple of million. Maybe it's not like half the Earth. In this movie, they're like, no, it was half the Earth basically.
Yeah, literally
So it's
have.
like that's that is 3.5 billion with a B people dead just in a flash. And I'm like, World War One, World War Two, Vietnam, like all the go back in time to all the crusades and like bundle them up into one death toll. I don't think they're anywhere close to 3 billion.
Yeah.
And I'm like, you have to understand what that level of death does to people,
I
to
mean, we
like the
saw what the
world
level of
as a
death
whole.
caused by COVID did to people. And it's
Yeah,
just so much worse. So much worse with the snap.
it would be unprecedented. It would be an unprecedented historical event in terms of like the what it would do to people psychologically. Because we see that in wars. We see that in like what the effects of what has happened with World War II, with the death toll, and people cling to it. People keep thinking about it. And the movie wants to have its cake and eat it, because honestly, it's one of the better scenes in the movie. But when Scott comes back, there's the there's this tiny little moment where like he goes through this decrepit neighborhood and there's abandoned houses and there's this little kid on the squeaky little bike that like gives him like a like 100-yard
Yeah, it's
stare,
like, what
and
the
it's like
hell
what is,
happened
and then
here? And he just
but
doesn't
but
answer.
then but then Thor doing Fortnite and Hulk dabbing in the fucking
Hulk.
diner. It's like, what the fuck is happening? Which one is it?
Well,
Did the world end or did it not?
they're trying to have this like solemn thing because the first scene we see after the 5 year time jump is the fucking group therapy with Captain America and the
Yeah,
token gay
yeah.
played by one of the Russo's character, which I
It's
would
really
never find a. It's so fucking hilarious. It's just like, oh, he's so brave. One of the directors playing a gay man. Yeah, but fuck you, Disney. Whatever. It's fine. That's not the issue. It's whatever. Um, the like that scene. It has like, oh, he cried when the salad arrived, and when what about you? I cried just before dessert, but we're seeing each other soon. You're like, okay, so it's an extremely sad world. Everyone's sad. Everyone's constantly crying, right? And then we have
Yeah,
like
but then
Thor.
you also have like the baseball field shot where you see like a bunch of ships in the harbor, and it's like, hey, things are bad, but it's like sort of. It's like,
Well, it's the thing that
yeah,
Natasha tells Steve, like, oh yeah, I saw a few whales in the Hudson River. It's like, oh yeah, the water is clear now. And she's like, yeah, if if you're trying to tell me to look on the bright
look
side,
on the bright side. Yeah,
I'm gonna
exactly.
throw this peanut butter sandwich on your head. And so it's like, it's you know, some of the characters, like Natasha especially, she feels the death. Some of the characters try to be more positive, but I don't think Bruce Banner as a character should be one of those people that look on the bright side.
No,
And like,
I
uh,
w- we'll
sorry,
probably save character for a little later,
yeah,
but really weird decisions with Hulk in this movie.
yeah,
It's strange.
yeah. I really don't like what they did with Hulk, but yeah, we'll get around to it. There's way too much to talk about this movie. But the general thing is like the tone is so weird because it it's not like fully taking seriously what happened, and when it's reversed it's all like happy ending and families reunited and everything, but it doesn't want to explore that there was a tangible impact, like there are consequences of what Thanos did. It's basically as if it never
Well,
happened.
yeah, well, that's one of my biggest things with this movie specifically, and you were touching on it. They never talk about if they actually should unsnap the world. They never explore the idea of the damage that will happen of bringing people back and if they even should, period.
Yeah,
It is a question that doesn't necessarily have an answer. There's not necessarily a right or wrong, but you have to talk about it. And one of the most perfect examples of that is Steve, because Steve went through something similar to what they would have experienced, where he missed 70 years worth of time.
yeah,
He would have to know what that was like and how that would affect other people. But they never have that discussion. So here's the scenario that I've always loved to posit. So it's like, picture the average Joe. He works in an office, he has a 16-year-old daughter, and he's happily married. Just on top of the world, the American dream. He wakes up after being snapped away, and his house is condemned or is sold. Someone else is living in his house now. And he realizes that 5 years have gone on. His daughter has graduated from high school and is in college right now. his wife has accepted his death and has married another man and is expecting child. And it's like the firm that he worked for no longer exists in all that time. So it's like, what has become of that man? That would be a fairly common thing. His life has been deleted. And it's just like the self deletions, the mass self deletions that you would see after the snap would be unprecedented. There'd be no way to avoid it. But it's just like one of those things, like you have to appreciate that would be real.
Yeah.
That would be a real thing, is people coming back after you've unsnapped them. It's like, hey, everything's back. It's like, no, it's not. No, it's not. So many people would not be able to get by after being snapped away. It would just be such a toll. There would be so many people that you wouldn't know. There would be so much time you'd be missing. And they never talk about that. They never talk about the tangible effects of bringing people back. And
the closest they have is with fucking Ant-Man with his daughter, which fucking, it's explored in Quantumania, which was also like 4 years after Endgame, which is a whole other thing. But it's like, it's barely touched on in the movie. It just kind of glosses over it because, well, that is a bad movie.
Well, it's one of the better scenes in the entire film. I was mentioning the like wanting to have their cake and eat it too. Like you do get a tiny bit of this with Scott going back, but I remember being stunned by that moment because I'm like, for one, you'd had that little girl playing Cassie in 2 of the movies, and then all of a sudden you see her old, and I realized that at first I thought it was his wife, and I'm like, no. And I that scene is great.
Yeah,
where you just see her and she's older. She does look a little too old, hilariously enough. It's just 5 years. Like she looks like 16 or 17 rather than like 14 or like 13. Like I don't know how old
she was meant to be like 13, 14, I think, yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. One way or another, like the effect is still the same and the performance is great. And I love that line. Like it's really good. You just see him like he doesn't quite know how to react, and he just says like, "You're so big." It's like, yeah. It's great, but so little. So, for one, not a lot of people had people that mattered snapped away. This is one of my problems with Far From Home. It's just like, hey, everyone was snapped. So it's like, hey, it's kind of like, other than Brad. So it's like, and a character that had that was Rocket. Rocket had all of his friends snapped away.
And he's one of the best characters in the film, coincidentally.
Yeah, but he doesn't. This is also a problem that I have with Guardians 3, is you don't really see the effect of him being on Earth for 5 years and his character. He hasn't really changed.
Oh no, he hasn't been on Earth. They've been traveling around other worlds.
Oh, Rocket has?
Yeah, Rocket with Nebula. They've been using the ship to go around.
Wait, I thought that message. There's like that scene where they're like talking on holograms.
Yeah.
Oh, I guess they say in the same.
They say they're in another planet.
They share a panel. Okay. Yeah, fair enough. And I guess they're a little closer in Guardians 3, but he missed his friends for 5 years and it wasn't with them, and you don't really feel that, you don't feel he's.
Well, it is one of the things where it's like, I completely understand why it was basically ignored in Guardians 3, because it's like, I mean, because Gunn wanted to make Guardians 3 before he was fired and before Infinity War and Endgame.
Well, and he didn't expect them to do what they did with Gamora, right?
Yeah, Gamora. Sorry. Yeah, they fucking killed off Gamora, which is a whole thing. But like my point being with that is that the movie doesn't have the time to acknowledge the impact it has, like these things have on the characters, but at the same time you're like, what does the movie have time for? Because like that's what matters in the film.
I mean, because it's 3 hours. It's so funny how that
like
works.
The second hour of the movie, that entire second act, it's just fan service with the fucking time traveling. You're going in the past and through what stuff they've already gone through, and it drags so much, and it's so convoluted, and everything. It's so stupid. Well, it's so stupid. Everything goes wrong. Fucking Loki steals the Tesseract. Like it's just
that's it. When did you get an entire TV show based on a really subpar plot point? Like think about that. Oh
Oh
my god.
Christ,
So
yeah.
there's so many ways you could have done the time heist. Again, with that like just thing that I have always proposed of like, well, how would you do it? Like, here's what I would do. So I love that they like are sitting and like thinking through this. Like you see the like they got notebooks and shit like all over the place. And then like Natasha thinks like, hey, there's a 1 year where all
Where
three
three stones
stones are in like
are
one
yeah.
place. I'm like, I know about a time where all of the stones were all in one location. You could all get them at one point. It was right before Thanos snapped his fingers in Infinity War.
Well,
And
they
it's
need
like,
to
well,
get
you can't
the
do that. Like that would Thanos would kill them. Like
yeah.
he'd be at full power. I'm like, well, no, because Thor managed to surprise him, and he would know that. So I'm like, picture
Oh yeah, that's
this:
a good point.
you got all these vials. You can like all the Avengers can travel back in time, or you could go back to one time when you had all of them at once, and then you could do a bunch of because they like waste their test run for a
Well,
joke,
I have
literally,
a
and
whole
it's like,
issue with that too. Because okay, so for one, they could have just gone back, gotten more Pym particles with from Hank
yes,
Pym.
exactly.
Like they could have just done that, being
They
like,
they
"Hey,
do it,
Hank,
and
make more
uh,
Pym particles for us." Like they go back to after the first Ant-Man movie, and like, "Hey, Hank Pym, we're traveling in time. We need your Pym particles." Uh,
there's no excuses, and they only get like a couple. It's just like, why couldn't you just go back in time and bring him in
yeah,
on this? Especially considering that it's closed loop.
yeah,
That's one of the things with the like you could say it's a blessing, arguably, like it doesn't affect things, but you're just like, yeah, the, nothing they do in going back in time affects anything. So they can do anything they want, see and change anything they want, and it won't affect anything. So it's like, there's no excuses. You could have gone back to past Hank and explained the
yeah,
situation, or just stolen a bunch over and over again. Like they're on limited resources so that they can like contrive the
yeah,
situation. That's why they did it the way they
yeah.
did it.
Which is frustrating, but as well, right? So, do you remember, right, when they're doing Tony and Scott's part of the plan of stealing the Tesseract? Do you remember that Ant-Man is actually tiny?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, remember, like, Tony has to flick him and everything. For him to be tiny, he needs to have Pym particles in his suit, implying that he has more.
Yeah,
When they go back in time,
I
he should
don't
not be able to grow tiny or grow big because the
well, I
Pym
don't know
particles
that
shouldn't work.
one like are they like batteries? Like they're not like they make the ones that they use like one
One,
shot and
yeah,
you're
which is
done.
weird and
Like
doesn't really make sense to me because it should be like batteries. It shouldn't like take it out like completely by doing the fucking time travel. Like they don't need that when they're doing it in Ant-Man and the Wasp either. It's a whole thing. It frustrates me. The rules of the Pym particles are kind of disregarded throughout the movie just to contrive the like, oh, we only got one shot at this. Yeah.
yeah. Well, what I've always proposed, I was mentioning this, so just like you have like let's say 10, I don't know what the actual number is, but let's say you had 10 Pym particles. So I'm like, okay, you know that Thanos gets all the Infinity Stones and that Thor surprised him. So I'm like, go back in time and bring like a bunch of drones and like make a video of exactly what happens at exactly what time, and then have Tony build like an anti-Thanos suit or something. Like he makes something that like keeps his hand open so that he can't close his fist and use the stones. Build something that is designed to like lock Thanos in place. It could be done. And then you could have like Thor kill him and then get like all of them off of the gauntlet. But it's just there that that makes sense. And it's like, is it risky? It's like, of course, but I'm like, look at how the plan went. It was a cataclysm of like that like downplays a lot of the risks. Like you have more of a chance if you do something like that rather than go to all these different time periods, but you quickly realize they only did it that way so that you could have all these fan service moments and go back in time to the past movies. That's why they did it the way they did it. There's
Yeah.
no other reason than that. It's
Well, yeah. What's because like nitpicking like the time travel logic and everything like that. I think they could have done a better plan. It, I get that some people were like, oh, you're overthinking it, but it's like just gets you to think like, why did they do it this way? And we all know why.
Yeah.
It's for fan service. It's cheap. If you achieve something like that, like I don't know, if they try to explore the characters well while doing something like that, I would have been fine with it. But it is so like it is just hype moments and aura. There's not like what do you get out of like but Captain America's character when they go back in time, like other than like him looking at Peggy through a window. Like he has no character
Yeah.
when he goes back in time. He fights himself, which is like, oh, that's a cool moment. They have him fucking say, "I can do this all day," and then he's like, "Oh yeah, I know." He says his own ass looks good. Like you know what I mean? Like there's no character.
Well, that's the funny thing about Infinity War too, is Infinity War struggles, like it has similar flaws to this movie where it is overstuffed. Like, and I'd argue that like Captain America like doesn't have that like clear of an arc in that movie. He's mainly like there for the action. A lot of characters are, but it's like Thor and Tony have a pretty clear arc in that movie. They have
Mhm.
like a beginning, middle, and end to their story. They change in substantive ways, and it's like not the same with the characters in this movie. Like Thor, you have that scene with his mom, which is really good.
Yeah.
And you do have the scene with Tony and his dad, which I also think is like it's a little more on the fan servicey side. It's
Yeah, the
not
scene
as
with
like
Tony and his dad frustrates me a little because it is trying to cram so many like crowd pleasing moments in so little time that the dialogue comes off super stilted. But I like the general
yeah.
idea of it, and I think they're in character at the very least. So yeah,
It's funny with this movie as well. This is one of the things like we've barely touched on the snap and what I imagine would happen, but something that I wish with this movie that's like just retrospective, like looking back on this film, where I'm like, why didn't you just have a snap phase?
yeah,
Why didn't you just have it that they couldn't stop Thanos? They couldn't undo this. And you get an entire phase where the characters, maybe even Endgame, is a more reserved movie where they can't undo what has been done, and you get them like maybe stopping some riot or like some opportunistic villain, and it's a more quiet and somber film. Instead, you get this like half-assed, like half fan service, half addressing what would have happened during the snap, and then only to undo it in one movie. And then that's why the rest of the MCU is just like, the snap didn't happen. I'm like, and this is my big thing. Why was it 5 years? Why couldn't it have been 6 months? Why couldn't
yeah.
it have been 1 year?
Well,
Movies jump
it's
that in time all the time.
yeah,
They like
and
one
it's
year
really
later, and it's like,
funny because Marvel Studios didn't tell Marvel TV how it was gonna go. So in Agents of Shield season 6, they started it by jumping ahead 1 year from the end of season 5 to season 6 because they were like, well, they're gonna solve it in 1 year, right? Everything's gonna be fine because they just didn't tell them. Like you can see, Marvel TV just assumed, 1 year. Marvel Studios just jumped ahead 5 years. Like it's insane to jump 5 years. It's a really stupid idea.
it's 5 years. Yeah. Well, and you know why, right? There's only one reason. And
For
I
Morgan.
realized this a long time. Yeah. I love you 3000. Tony
Yeah.
Stark can't have a cute little 5-year-old daughter if it's not 5 years.
Yeah.
That's why they did it. And now it's so funny that we have like Franklin Richards as a character, but I'm like, you could have done something like that, man. You could have shown Pepper and Tony reuniting, and you could have earned this. You could have had a whole phase where he grew up having a daughter, or he like had a daughter in that 5 years, and maybe faded away from being Iron Man. Instead, they're just like, hey, he's got a daughter now. It's because of Captain. I love you 3000. It's just
Yeah. He's like,
like,
hey, he has
and
a
because
daughter.
she's,
Isn't she cute? And then, like,
yeah,
but the next
and
scene, he's
what,
already like, we can't lose her. Like, we've not grown attached to her. I understand
yeah.
completely in his character why he wouldn't want to lose her. It's not what I'm saying. It's just that, like, it feels cheap.
Well, that's literally it. It's because she's cute. She's cute and she's like a sweet little girl. And it's just like, hey, he's got a daughter. Of like, we didn't earn this. We didn't get to here. You've just said it happened. And that's why they went with 5 years. And 5 years is just, I'm telling you, there's such a huge impact that would have on everybody and the world. And I have so let's get back to the snap. We may as well. So let's just say that the world didn't end somehow. You're just like, okay, communication between nations like stayed in place, like no one stepped over battle lines, like no one fired a nuke. I'm like, okay, things stay relatively the same. It's like, okay, so no wars, at least for now. I'm like, there would be mass riots. There'd be no way to and looting. Like that would be everywhere. It'd be kind of insane just how much there would be, and there'd be no way to stop that. Um, and that died down relatively quickly. There would also be, this is another thing that's never really explored the MCU. So many people, there'd be confusion about what happened. And so many people would be saying that it validated their religion, that it was like a rapture.
Mm-hmm.
And I at some point the Avengers would have to get like on TV or something to explain what happened, explain like that.
It seemed
Basically
to be
Thanos'
general
character is
knowledge, to
Evan.
be fair, that after the snap, that everyone knew what happened.
Yeah, seemingly, and like it'd be fairly easy to illustrate what that was to other people. But um so then 5 years, and the biggest thing beyond just like half the world and like politicians and all that, there would be so many people that would be important that would be snapped away. The bigger issue that you deal with is you don't have enough people left on the planet to run the planet anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Like we need truck drivers, we need pilots, we need factory workers, we need politicians, we need fucking nuclear power plant runners. All those people, like they've been cut in half. So I'm no expert in all this, but I'm like, my guess at what would have to happen is you'd basically need to make metropolises. There's like all these small towns. So you're like, if you live in this county, this county, this county, this county, go to this city. There's temporary housing and there's work there. It's like, and build up the cities, like get the population in like specific areas. You'd have to like abandon a bunch of places nearby, but build up those populations, and then you could get back to repopulating and getting people back into the housing. And this is the thing with like snapping people back, all of a sudden you got a lot of homeless people coming back into the world. That's something you'd have to explore. But it's one of those things where so much would happen in that time and the world would just look so different from the world that we see now, because with half of people gone, you would have to build up. You'd have to change things in order to get to a new position. So, but since this is just one movie and the movies have mostly just ignored what's happened, they can act like the snap wasn't that bad, basically.
Yeah.
Which sucks too, because it downplays Infinity War's impact. That movie had a huge note, and I can imagine like an MCU with like a phase where there was like half the cast had been killed off, and it was questionable if they'd come back. But people have contracts and they got to make money. They couldn't. This is the problem with the live action comic book adaptation in the MCU, the way that it is. You just kind of have to make movies contractually rather than with the snap having the impact that it should have. And because of that, it's like there's no impact. And now we've caught up to these 5 years, and now they just downplay it and act like it barely had an impact, which sucks.
Yeah.
Golly, this fucking movie. Yeah, if you want like why I've just faded away from the MCU, just check this discussion out. Like this is kind of in a nutshell why it is the way it is. So.
Yeah. Well, so many problems can be traced back to Endgame. Because it's so interesting as well, because I was watching it, right? And once we got to the scene of Captain America giving his shield to Sam, I was like, you know what? This feels like a good handing off the shield. Like it feels like a good way to be like, yeah, Captain America will carry on. It's gonna be Sam. It's gonna be great. And then because like just looking at it from that perspective, but we're 6 years removed from that movie, and looking at it now, they only made one Captain America movie, which was Brand New World. Like, it's the only movie
which just came out.
Yeah, it came out earlier this year in 2025. It makes no sense. Like, if you wanted
Well,
to keep the
just
brand alive, to keep like renewing the brand, because it felt like it was like handing off, like, Captain Marvel is gonna be leading the Avengers with uh Sam being, Captain America. Like, okay, that's great. But then they made two fucking stories, Falcon and the Winter Soldier and Captain America 4, both about like Sam earning the shield. But he already earned it. Captain America already gave it to him. By that point, just make another movie where he's Captain America. He can have
well,
an
I'm
internal
telling.
struggle about him not feeling like he's living up to Steve, which, is fine and probably should have been explored anyway. But, like, do it in his own film. Like, relegating him to a TV show is so weird when he is supposed to be one of the main faces of the MCU. It's weird. Like, so, this isn't like Endgame's fault. It's just like I was
Well,
watching
this
Endgame and I was just thinking, like, Marvel, you dropped the ball. You had it, like, you had the
well
perfect
we
way
can
to continue it.
this kind of touches on the greater MCU and like because this is what they did. Like you have to remember 2020, there were no Marvel movies that were released. And I think that's one of the reasons why they did the TV shows and why they keep releasing so many movies nowadays is that they want to like keep people getting their Marvel opium. And it's it is a shame. I've always just said I'm like they were ashamed of Captain America. They
Yeah,
were ashamed that the shield was given to a black man. It's like,
yeah,
come on. I'm like, no, you come
really,
on.
they were.
They made
They made a
a
TV show about that.
yeah,
It's
one
crazy.
TV show that just loosely touches on it and loosely touches on the snap with that fucking loan subplot. And then he gets one movie and it's like, is this guy gonna lead the Avengers? I'm like, no, it looks like Mr. Fantastic is gonna
Well,
lead the
but that's the
Avengers.
thing. They
So it's just
said,
like, what the
because there
fuck?
there are like three different Avengers groups now, and Captain America, Sam is one of the he's the leader of the Avengers. Then there's the new Avengers, which the leader is Yelena,
Yeah,
and
the
it's,
the fucking
Thunderbolts.
Thunderbolts. It's
So it's like, what are
that
we doing?
again with just that being a thing. I didn't watch Thunderbolts obviously, but I remember seeing that. It's like, hey, the asterisk of like this because
Because
they're
it's
the new
new
Avengers. Like,
Avengers.
no, no, they're not. They're the misfit. They're the Suicide Squad at best. Like, what?
Yeah,
The new Avengers? Just like no one knows. These movies are just so. And this is what I am talking about with this movie because it's like I don't even necessarily think this movie is that bad. It like I don't like it, and I do think it is poorly written, but it's what when you look at the modern MCU, you're just like it all traces
yeah,
back to this film and what has happened with the snap and what's happened with the characters. And honestly, that's another thing is they killed off the two leads.
yeah.
You're just like
Well,
they didn't
it was
have
just
to
like,
kill.
it made sense, right? Of like, hey, this is the end of this saga. Chris Evans and Robert Downey Jr. got too expensive for us to keep them around with like their arcs already concluded. We're not gonna have them cameo or anything. You know what? Fine. Kill them off. Have their arcs concluded. Renew it. It's based on comic books. It makes perfect sense to like renew the cast to be like, yeah, this new group of people are gonna
Well,
be the new Avengers.
yeah,
Like, it makes sense. The
but they
way,
didn't do that. They
yeah,
could have had like the younger generate.
yeah.
They
Well,
do
they
this with the
keep,
X-Men too. The
yeah.
X-Men has
With
like
the new
established
mutants,
veterans
literally,
like
like once the
Wolverine.
X-Men died, the
Yeah.
X-Men die in the comics, they have the new mutants. I've been reading that, by the way, because
Well, and you
that, yeah,
get younger like X-Men as
yeah,
well, in addition to the older ones. That's a problem. Again, touching on greater problems at the MCU, it's always origin stories. Everyone's
yeah.
introduced. Like they introduce Black Panther and Wakanda is basically introduced. And it's like that's problematic from a world building perspective, So
Yeah,
like
I mean, it's the whole thing with Captain Marvel, right? She's just like, she's always been. She's
yeah.
actually the first Avenger. Like, what are you talking about?
Yeah.
Like,
It's
how
just
does that fit with the MCU? It's just, it's fucking
which
a rat cons in superhero media. It happens, but it just feels so and because like Captain Marvel being introduced in 2019, like her own movie came out in 2019,
yeah,
which is like,
after
people always forget that Ant-Man
after
and the
Infinity
Wasp
War.
actually happened after Infinity War. But anyway, there are two movies between Infinity War and Endgame. Ant-Man and the Wasp, um, which is only used to set up like the whole time travel thing with the van and everything. and Captain Marvel, which is only used for her to be a Deus Ex Machina twice in Endgame. And so they make you
Which
like,
doesn't even go anywhere. She gets a better one in the third act, but the
yeah,
first one, it's like Thanos was
she
like kind
literally
of a
just shows
dying
up.
fish anyway. So it's just like, what?
No, she's a fucking Deus Ex Machina in the sense of like she saves Tony. She just happens to find him somehow. It's like,
Oh yeah, exactly.
yeah.
Oh my God,
So
it's
it's just like,
weird.
so, and the way they try to make you like it is that they have the characters constantly say, "Oh, I like her." Like they literally have Tony Thor
Yeah,
say,
Thor,
"I
of
like this
course.
one." It's just it's so stupid because like it's the movie trying
And
to be
then
like, "Oh, don't you love this character? She showed up for the rescue," but it's not like a long established character. There's no reason for us to really
no,
care.
and she just disappears
She just
halfway
disappears
through,
for most of the movie. She's too
probably
overpowered.
because she'd like solve, yeah, she'd solve most of the problems, so they just have to write her out,
Yeah,
and
she's like,
it's
"Oh,
just
I'm just saving other worlds right now." But like Natasha literally said, "If you need your help, we're gonna call you." Considering they're about to bring back
yeah,
half the universe, they would have called her.
exactly. That would have been an important moment, but no.
It's so,
And
but that's my
the
thing,
other,
right? Because like the Nazis kept like saying, "Oh, Captain Marvel, the woke, the MCU, and everything." That movie is like okay, it's like mediocre, and the bigger problem with Captain Marvel wasn't that they're trying to shove feminism down your throat, is that they had no plan moving forward with the MCU. So Captain Marvel, the
well,
movie in 2019, was extremely rushed because they needed to introduce a new Avengers
yeah.
leader, which was Captain Marvel. But because it was so rushed, nobody liked her. Hence why she never became the Avengers leader post Endgame.
Well, it was the same with Black Widow, where Black Widow, like that, for one, they killed her in Endgame, but
Mhm.
they that was clearly meant to be a female-led like superhero movie. And like Thunderbolts could arguably be called that because Yelena's like definitely like the
The
top
main
of the
character,
cast,
yeah.
other than maybe David Harbour. But she was dead for one. It was a prequel and weird, and like people didn't like the actual movie in large part. But it's the same thing with Captain Marvel, where it's just they've rushed it, and it's supposed to have like this big, like, oh my god, like we got a female lead and a female superhero, but it just, when you rush through it and you
Yeah.
don't give it the weight that it should, it just comes across as rushed
Yeah.
and lazy.
Well,
So
Marvel chewed off its own tail by, or shot itself in the foot is probably a better, yeah, it's probably a better metaphor. Sorry. Uh, by keeping, by taking so long to actually make a women-led MCU film, because once they did that, it became like this huge deal, and they had to like make live up to the hype, and they needed to
make
make
it an
like,
event. Yeah.
yeah, when it's like you could have just done a Black Widow movie in like 2015. You know what I mean? Like post
Yeah,
Winter
years
Soldier,
back.
do a fucking Black Widow movie. Like everyone said
People were
2016,
asking
do
for it. They
it.
want a Black Widow movie, and
Yeah.
I think most people didn't want Dreykov's like to be a thing, for it to be like some weird connection between the first Avengers and this tiny little anecdote. I'm like, just make it her own story
Yeah.
with her own character. Not to mention Yelena being propped up and them trying to like, she more or less is the main character and has more agency than Natasha actually does in that movie.
Yeah,
Jesus
they
Christ.
do it
This is the
again to
problem.
hand off the mantle, right? To be like, oh, you see, Elena is the new Black Widow.
Yeah, exactly. I hate Yelena. She's like probably my least favorite character in the MCU. You want to know the funny thing? Like bringing it a little bit back to Endgame. My favorite character in this movie is actually Nebula.
Oh
I think
yeah,
she has the
absolutely.
clearest arc
Yeah,
and
she
like
literally
gets the
kills
most to
the
do.
younger version of herself that was still loyal to Thanos.
That is like proper arc material. It's what I
Yeah,
was talking about. That like that a lot of people don't like that. Like in terms of a clear beginning, middle, and end. Like that last look in her eyes after she kills her literal past self. It's like, god damn. But the thing that I like about Nebula as a character, that even Guardians 3 handled this pretty well, but she never fully escapes her backstory.
oh yeah,
She's got like a traumatic past, and even though she clearly like grows and get like characters and like her sister whittle her down a decent bit, but she never fully changes and grows on board. This is a problem I have with Thor in the MCU as well. I wish that Thor had like retained his like Asgardian like history and like talked more. They do this in Avengers Earth's Mightiest Heroes. Like the guy who plays Thor, he still like has that Shakespearean like edge
Mm-hmm.
to his dialogue and still like has a theatricality to everything.
Yeah.
But Yelena, she is a jokester when her backstory and everything that like her
Well, she
character has
was like
gone
what, being
through,
mind controlled her entire life, right?
damn near her entire life. And it's like,
Yeah.
why
So
is
it's
she
like,
acting this
yeah.
way?
Why is
Why is she
she?
whimsical
Why
and
is she a
likable?
generic MCU character? Like everyone has the same
Yeah.
personality in every MCU film. Like other than like the
Mhm.
Guardians
Funny
films,
and
like it's very rare that you get characters with distinct personalities. And even then you can tell like they're similar in Guardians. I'm not gonna say that it's like super different, but they have more unique ones. Like everyone just the MCU just wanted everyone to be Tony Stark, to be quippy and sarcastic, because that was like what people liked. But it's like it's so much more interesting if you make them unique. It's why people like Captain America and Tony Stark together, because they have very
yeah, the
different
dynamic.
personalities. So you have the dynamic between the two.
Yeah. I it's pretty sad to see a lot of characters like that, like Yelena, who could be interesting and who you could use like their backstories to inform more of their characters.
Well, and
But
it's what's interesting as well that you mentioned with Nebula, because the way she speaks is very much Nebula. You know, she never changes her manner of speaking, even though she makes more jokes. She gets more,
yeah,
quippy, and
she
like
has that
Guardians
like
3, she's
very
still, yeah, she's still the
she's
same.
like stoic and like she has this deadpan
Yeah,
delivery to everything. And like before it was like fully you could because you could tell like you were saying she makes like jokes like sometimes or
yeah,
like she'll like finish a joke. I always love that one in Guardians 3, like we were hoping it'd stop. It's like that's funny. And yeah, but at the same time like you can tell that like she still is the way
yeah,
that she is, and I appreciate that.
yeah. The MCU just got like just flanderized itself over time because they wanted
Big
everyone to
time.
be Tony. The MCU didn't realize that part of its appeal was the different personalities and everything. But to be fair, it is also like the kind of like the fault of some of the movies that got popular, right? Because like Thor Ragnarok got popular because partly
Yeah.
they made
Full
Thor not
comedy, yeah.
be the the Shakespearean character he was, because everyone hated the first two Thor. Well, not hated, but like people didn't like the first two Thor movies, especially the second one, and they thought it was boring and too
It
like over the top Shakespearean and everything like that, and the characters weren't characters, and so they just made Thor have a personality by stripping away of his personality and giving him another one of him being more quippy and funny and everything, which it worked well in Ragnarok, but it just it showed Marvel that what they wanted was that everyone to be like this quippy, funny, go lucky guy. When characters aren't supposed to be like, and it's I always come back to it in Avengers 2012 because I love Thor in that. He's great, and he's still the
yeah.
Shakespearean Thor.
Well, I think they dropped it as early as like the Age of
Age of
Ultron or
Ultron, yeah.
whatever, or even arguably Dark World. I don't think I've rewatched Dark World,
No,
but
don't.
it's
But in Dark World, they still try to have him be like,
yeah, a
like
little bit. And
Shakespearean.
Asgard still, I mean, I would hope most could agree that like Asgard didn't have the same prestige, and they literally blow it up, it's just and
Yeah,
make a joke of it when it happens. So it's just not that necessarily, because they did kind of like, I mean, it's explored even in Endgame. I do like that, like the new Asgard. I'm not a fan of what they do with Thor, but it's a cool idea that like Asgard is like reestablished, just becomes this kind of like small little fishing community. It's just, what else are people going to do other than get a new home? So,
yeah,
but my God, in terms of like flanderizing itself, because I'm behind on so many of the MCU movies. I haven't seen them, but like, what's the most successful that we've gotten since this movie?
well, No
It's
Way
No Way
Home. Yeah,
Home,
No Way
and
Home, and then
that
Multiverse
movie
of
was the
Madness,
same.
which it just
Yeah,
tells you everything you need to
more
know. People want
exact
cameos.
that this movie came out with the portals, and ever since then they have been trying to just do this. That like because it's what it is. It's just these types of movies being successful tell big studio suits like audiences want more of this, and they're not necessarily wrong. The IMDb ratings on WandaVision improve, the more MCU-y it gets, and
Yeah.
the less like, because it's like everyone's like, why is Marvel not taking any risks? Like, we tell them we don't want them to take risks when we watch, and that's why I'm not watching the MCU anymore. I'm just like,
Well, and that's the thing,
what
right?
motivation do I have to check these out when you pretty much know what you're in for, and
Yeah.
like 2 weeks go by and people stop talking
Talking
about it? It's like,
about it,
there
yeah.
you go.
It's always the same thing as well. Like we've gotten that with Thunderbolts and with Fantastic Four, which I'm gonna get back to. Remind me, I'm gonna get back to it in like a minute. I just need to say this because like we told them that we wanted the safest route when we made Endgame the most successful movie of all time. Like we just told them like that's what we want. We want cameos and we want you to play the safest, do the safest thing, like have everyone coming back in time and like fan service and everything because like we basically said we appreciate what you've done. Now go back to that same well over and over because we want to like keep feeding off it instead of like getting something new.
Well, for Christ's sake, I'm like, you want the clearest example of that? And again, this is the funny thing about talking about this movie, but you're mentioning Fantastic Four, but Doctor Doom. It's just like, who is going to play Doctor Doom? It's like
Robert
Robert
Downey
Downey
Jr.
Jr.
Like what?
It's
I
like,
don't know, man. They needed that was like
Hail
their Hail
Mary
Mary.
much?
Yeah, we said the
Yeah,
exact
well,
same thing. Yeah, it was
it's
very
just,
much a Hail Mary of like we need people back on board, so we're gonna bring back our biggest star. They're paying like 80 million for him in that movie just to be in
well,
Doomsday. That's insane.
which that the hilarious thing about that is it illustrates just how little star power there is in the
Yeah,
MCU anymore, which is so funny because Florence Pugh, like we were talking about
one
Thunderbolts
of
and
the
how they're
world's
like
biggest
trying to make
stars.
that like an Avengers. Yeah, she's a great actress. I mean, in spite of the MCU,
Yeah,
I would say, like, in fact, I would have thought it would have like ruined more of her career, but I'm like, not really. She's still in pretty great movies nowadays. But
yeah, she's got a good
um
agent, I would say.
so Anthony Mackie, they've done pathetic at like propping
Well,
him
they
up and making him more
honestly
of a
they
character.
made they let Anthony Mackie down so fucking much, so much, so much. Like he was going to be the new face of the MCU, him and Brie Larson, and they fucked
Yeah,
them both
directly
over.
given the shield by
Yeah,
Captain America. They make a scene of it and everything that totally could have been like, he could have been the new face. He could have been the person that's bringing the team together, the people
yeah.
person.
Like the
But they
first
didn't
MCU
do it.
movie they should have done post Endgame, other than Far From Home, was Captain America 4 starring Anthony Mackie. They needed to do that to
Yeah, yeah,
reestablish like
yeah.
the new MCU and be like, this is the new leader, this is the new face of the
From
MCU.
Yeah, explore. It's hilarious that like Falcon and the Winter Soldier is so half-assed about it, because it's just like, you could just have a movie that genuinely explores like what a new Captain
Yeah,
America is like, and have it be his own story where like, ditch Falcon or
Winter
fucking
Soldier.
Bucky.
Yeah.
Don't have him in there to like, muddy the waters.
Yeah, like he
Make it
could
so
be
that
in
it
the
is
story,
his.
but he doesn't. He could be in the movie, but he doesn't need to be a big part of the story. It needs to be,
Well,
Sam's story. It should be,
that's the thing.
but it's the same fucking thing
Bucky
with
down.
fucking Brave New
Yeah,
World,
because
right? It's a
Red
Hulk
Hulk.
movie.
Yeah, yeah. And Samuel Stearns is the villain. It's just like, great. You can't just have the movie just be about the new Captain America and have
Yeah,
him be the main character. And also, I liked Sam.
he was a
I
good
really,
character.
I remember people were like, "Come on, dude, you give it to Bucky." I'm like, why?
No, it
Sam's been
makes
his
so much
wingman
more
the
sense
last two
to
movies, and
do
he's
it to
always been by
Sam.
his side and loyal. I'm like,
Yeah,
and they connected because they were soldiers. I'm
yeah.
like, I think it makes a lot of sense for him to give him that shield,
Well, I think it's the thing of
and
like
then
Bucky is more haunted. He's not like
yeah, I
he's
don't.
more gray. Sam lives up to Captain America's ideals, and like Bucky understands. It's part of what I love is that he
Yeah,
tells Sam to go to talk to Steve. I'm like, yeah,
well, I think they like called him like White Wolf or something like that in Wakanda, and I don't know if he like gets a new name other than the Winter Soldier and like the comics, like,
uh,
because I know that like Bucky's had redemption arcs, but I it's just like one of those things where you're like, just have him do his own deal.
yeah.
He just feels like the guy with long hair and a beard, not even long hair anymore, just kind of like has a dark past. Like they don't know what to do with Bucky now
Yeah.
that Sam's dead or that Steve's gone.
Yeah, and they could have done
So
something interesting, but they keep dropping the. I mean, I don't know how he is in Thunderbolts. I've heard he's interesting, but I haven't seen that movie.
mm,
Yeah, but
yeah.
getting
You were
back,
saying Fantastic
yeah,
Four, bring it back to yeah.
I was about to get back to that. So Fantastic Four, right? I like the movie. It's okay, but it's just emblematic of the MCU because like people got really mad at like the Phase 4 movies by saying like, oh, it's slop, it's sludge, and a lot of it is and feels that way, especially because it looks like it. You know what I mean? Like Quantumania looks awful. Fucking Thor Love and Thunder looks awful. I don't even think Love and Thunder is that bad of a movie, but it looks awful. Like it just looks ugly, the colors are all bad.
Yeah.
Like it feels like sludge, even though like even
Well,
if
I
the
mean, shit.
writing is like not the worst thing ever, it just feels like it.
Well, that's another thing that I always love because, like, for one, people always like clip like freeze frames or something like that, or be like, "Oh, come on, like these movies don't look bad." I'm like, I watch the Batman, and you're just like, this is like
Yeah.
Greg Fraser. They clearly let him do what he wanted, and he like makes Gotham so vivid and
Yeah.
unique. And it's just like we have not had
I
that
mean,
in
fucking
the
watch the
MCU in
Penguin. That
years. And
show has a better
yeah,
like visual style than most MCU movies with like much
and
larger budgets.
there was a drop off. I mean, hell, like even the first Avengers does not have good cinematography. It's pretty damn flat.
Oh
But
yeah.
I'm like fucking Kenneth Branagh in the first Thor. The first Thor looks really good. Asgard has a scale to it. It's really well shot, put together. Same with first Captain America. Like there's been a visual decline in the MCU,
Yeah.
and they they have not been looking as good.
Well, and
And I think
sorry, go on.
go on.
No, it's you finish your point.
Well, I was just gonna say that I mentioned that this movie has a cement look
Yeah.
because of the going back to the other movies, but I mean, people were criticizing that with like the airport from Captain America: Civil
Civil
War.
War.
These movies have never looked too incredible. They're, popcorn entertainment first and foremost.
Some
But
do. I still think Guardians 2 looks phenomenal. I like how Guardians 3
yeah, yeah.
looks. There are a few movies that I think are pretty interesting. I mean, honestly, Multiverse of Madness looks pretty good. It's Sam
Yeah.
Raimi, so, But anyway, what was this? Oh yeah, I mean, actually the first two Iron Man movies look fairly good as well.
Yeah,
Um
yeah.
but the my point being, getting back to Fantastic Four, the reason people were so on board with it and why I assume people were on board with Thunderbolts, like from what I've seen people say, I've not seen Thunderbolts, but from what I understand of what people said about that movie, is that they felt like movies. They looked like movies.
Yeah.
They were, they didn't have like the, you know,
Well,
the awful
that's
CGI and the gray sludge, and they were colorful. Or, even though Thunderbolts was like not very colorful from what I've seen, it was like it had a purpose. It had a vibe to it that it stuck to, and it was shot and like with blocking. You know what I mean? Like,
well,
in
yeah,
the bar has gotten very low.
yeah, the term slop is used a lot nowadays, and it's
Yeah.
one of those things where I that's why I don't watch the MCU anymore, because that's like the best compliments that
Yeah.
these movies get is it's just like, hey, it looks like a
Yeah.
real movie. I'm like, wow,
Yeah.
I'll watch a real movie instead.
Well, and that's my thing because I watched Fantastic Four to cover it on my podcast with Introverted Robot,
Yeah.
and I thought it was fine, but it was a lot like it was average, it was mediocre, and but everyone was on that movie side, and it came out like right next to Superman, and Superman, I love. Superman is actually a great film. Like I just outright like explores the character in really interesting ways. I like the world building. It looks good. I like it. It has a unique style. It feels like a James Gunn movie, and it also feels like what a Superman movie should be. Fantastic Four, it feels like a movie. It feels like it has unique visual style, especially being in the 60s in this retro futuristic vibe, which I love. Has some pretty interesting world building, which the movie benefits a lot from not being set in the main MCU. But it is just not a good movie. But people were on board with it just because of like how low the bar has gotten, because like it just feels like a movie. When you're watching it, you're like, yeah, it's hitting all the beats that I expect like a good movie to be to go through. But when you actually stop to think about it, the movie's not doing anything. It is also being an extremely safe movie. And I mean, there's so many stories of what people say, like, of what was cut out of Fantastic Four First Steps, of all the stuff that was
Yeah.
left in the cutting room floor. And there was like a whole different cut of the movie, which would have been more interesting and explored the characters more. But they needed to do it the safest way possible. And it's like I say, the Fantastic Four movie feels so scared to be a bad movie that it never becomes a good movie because it's afraid to try anything. And that's what I feel about a lot of the MCU, where it's just too afraid to try things. It's playing it too safe since Endgame. I mean, arguably since before Endgame, but I think Endgame was the start of that, of being like, we need to play it safe because we need to, get back to the Endgame hype. And, it kept being like falling short and falling short. And so it's just like, people were on board with Fantastic Four, but do you hear anyone talking about it now? I mean, the movie's out on digital. Do you hear
Yeah.
people talking about it? I don't.
Well, it had that drop off like
Yeah.
80% or whatever. And unfortunately, this is the thing. COVID, the movie
Yeah.
industry has been like kind of getting back on its feet ever since COVID happened. Like, there's not a lot of blockbusters that are like making money
Yeah.
nowadays, or like, I mean, and even you can tell the MCU is insecure
Yeah.
about that, because it's just like they haven't been making money, they haven't been top of the mountain,
Yeah.
and they used to be. And yeah, like Fantastic Four, just it had some initial hype,
Yeah.
but
Well, it's
now
what you
people
said.
are
After two
Superman had
weeks,
way
people
more
move
staying
on.
power.
People still talk about Superman. But after 2 weeks, people
Yeah.
moved on from Fantastic Four. When Superman came to digital, everyone was talking about it. Everyone was clipping it. Everyone was
Yeah,
like
clip
posting about the fucking Mr. Terrific fight scene. Like everyone was talking about it. I
yeah,
rewatched it
the
the day
ending
it came out.
monologue.
Yeah,
There's
I
so
rewatched it the day it
yeah.
came out on digital. I have not cared to rewatch Fantastic Four because why would I? I'm not going to gain anything from the movie. Rewatching Superman, I gained something from it. It's a very interesting, well crafted movie that I can see and appreciate more from rewatches. I can't say the same for Fantastic Four. It's a fine movie, it's one that you watch and move on. And Marvel just kind of like forgot to make movies that are interesting and rewatchable. Like Civil War, I have many problems with, but that movie's rewatchable. That movie's interesting. It's
Oh
trying to
yeah.
say things. It's trying to
Well,
have the characters clash. It's trying to explore its characters. What movie post Endgame has done that? Honestly, other than
well,
Eternals, but then no, everyone hated Eternals because it didn't have the fucking the cameos. So I don't know.
well, the hilarious thing about the MCU, this is a problem that like ties into Endgame, is that they have avoided big status quo changing events in their movies. I mean, like everyone just calls it New York when like the alien invasion happened in
Yeah,
the MCU, and it's like that was big. The destroyer being sent down in the first Thor is
yeah,
big. They acknowledge those types of events in the movies, and the Sokovia Accords are
Sokovia.
one of
Yeah,
those, because honestly, other than sort of the ending, which ties into Civil War, the Age of Ultron doesn't have like as big of events. Like the Civil War feels more like an Avengers movie, I would argue, than
yeah.
even Age of Ultron. But it's the snap could have been that next big thing, but they haven't really known what to do, what events will define the world ever since like the multiverse got into it. It's just like, hey, we're in the multiverse phase, as like,
Yeah,
but
the
what's the
multiverse
MCU
saga.
about? What like defining event has like happened since Endgame? I'm
Yeah.
like, I don't know. Like
And they've tried so hard to
what?
even get away from Earth. Like it's kind of
Yeah,
embarrassing. They're like ashamed to have
exactly.
stories set on Earth at this point because they're like nobody likes what we're doing on Earth. No, nobody cares about like how the world reacts because we've made it so our world doesn't react to these big events. Fucking Eternals, the Celestial sticking out from the center of the Earth, right? The big celestial head,
Yeah,
and
and
they ignore it. When was
until
it?
Brave
Like
New
Brave New
World, I
World? I
guess.
guess they mentioned it in Brave New World. I don't know how they addressed it. I don't know. But it was like what 3 years, 4 years later, 4 years without addressing it. Like the huge world-changing event. Imagine like saying the entire history of the universe is not like you imagined it was. Imagine how big that would be for the rest of the MCU, but it just doesn't acknowledge it. Again,
Yeah.
Eternals is the only movie that tries something, and that movie was like everyone hated it. So I'll always be on your side, Chloe Zhao. It's fine. It's fine. My
Oh my
point
god.
being, I really hate how people have like, and I think it's like Marvel shot themselves in the foot, and the audiences also kind of fucked Marvel over because they told Marvel this is what we want, and they kept giving them more of that. But obviously, with diminishing returns, with less thought put into it, and then just like at a point, it just became like, just sludge, and now people
Yeah.
aren't buying into it anymore. Uh, and Marvel never tried to renew itself. It just kept trying to get through the same beats as before. I mean, it's insane. It took them 7 years to make a Doctor Strange sequel, and that movie is a Scarlet Witch movie. You know what I mean? It's crazy.
Yeah, well, and not to mention like whatever next Spider-Man movie they'll make, like Spider-Man talk about like not feeling like his own character, but they it's it's funny like how much they've faded in. Sorry, I completely lost my train of thought. We were talking about characters and like being affected by this.
Yeah, I think you
What
were
the
gonna
hell is
say
that?
that's a beeping noise. I think you were gonna say that the characters have faded away from like the movies have faded away from relevancy. Same way the characters have faded because in a way they have.
Well,
Like
yeah.
who do we talk about in terms of MCU characters now? Like especially after
Yeah, we
Guardians
talked about
3 where they
Iron Man
actually
and Captain
concluded
America.
after they concluded the Guardians story, right? Like who do we talk about anymore? Like Spider-Man
Yeah, like
somewhat.
Black. But well, that's the thing is like he's like people don't know who he is
Yeah.
anymore canonically. Like we're we're
Yeah.
we're getting a new Spider-Man movie, and it's like his memories have been erased. But I guess the cast is coming back still, so it's
Yeah,
like how's that
fucking
going to work?
Zendaya
I'm
is
like,
gonna
is
come back.
everyone just
We'll
going to get their
see. Maybe they're
memory?
just gonna have her like cameo and like him looking at her working and being like, longing for the days before he made the sacrifice. I don't know. Maybe it's gonna be understated. It's the MCU, so I doubt it, but it could be. And people are looking forward to this to what's it called? Brand New Day. I almost called Brave
Brand
New
new.
World. Those are very similar names. I just realized.
I just call them the same titles. I'm just like it's the same
Well,
Spider-Man home stuff and
yeah.
things
Well,
basically.
all three Spider-Man films in the MCU are telling the same story. All four. I mean, even in Civil War, he has the same fucking arc of like learning that with great power comes great responsibility. He learns that in all three films. It's actually embarrassing. Like, and they actually have that line verbatim in fucking No Way Home said by Aunt May because it's like, oh, now he
So
learned it.
yeah,
Because
now
and then
he
like people were
finally
like,
says it
okay,
and learns his arc at the
yeah,
end of his fucking trilogy. It's
yeah,
like
and it's
Jesus
like,
Christ.
okay, he's he finally gonna have like his street level friendly neighborhood Spider-Man movie. And then we're gonna get Brand New Day, which has fucking Punisher, Yelena, Hulk, fucking
Yep.
yeah, the Scorpion's gonna be the villain, I guess. I don't know. It's just not
Homecoming sort of scratches that itch. It's a little more in the friendly neighborhood, but
yeah
the sequel is not in the slightest.
yeah. So it's just that thing of like we're not gonna get the Spider-Man MCU film that fans want. The Spider-Man fans that want the understated like street level film because they kind of need to keep the cameos going because otherwise they're going like the large public is going to lose interest. The larger public. And Spider-Man is their big draw. So it's again they're just playing it safe. They're not trying to do like something interesting like explore Spider-Man's character. And I mean, I don't know. There's very interesting things to explore after he sacrifices it. Like nobody knows who he is anymore. There could be interesting things to do with that. Now he's probably going to be in
Well, you
college.
could
Who
well,
knows?
that you could recast everybody as well. I've always said like Deborah Whitman or Kirk Connors. There's so many other Spider-Man characters that you could make your mainliners. You don't have to use the characters that you had before. And I'm just like,
Yeah. I mean, they
I don't know.
literally were so starved for ideas that the villain of Spider-Man No Way Home, MCU Spider-Man 3, is the villain of Spider-Man 2002. Like,
Yeah, just
it's
brought him
just,
back. People have been putting him on lists like the best MCU villains. I'm like the Green Goblin. I'm like, you mean the Green Goblin from Raimi? Because that's
yeah.
what who he is. It's like, what?
And he probably is one of the best MCU villains because the bar is low.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, who else are you gonna
Yeah, like what? Other
cite?
than Ego, fucking
But
what?
that was before
Loki.
Endgame. Like,
Oh,
who?
after Endgame, there is
Oh,
just the Green Goblin and Icarus, I guess.
yeah, Icarus.
I mean, the High Evolutionary, that was after Endgame. I keep forgetting the Guardians 3 is
Uh,
post Endgame. Shut up. The High Evolutionary is great, Evan. I'm
we'll get to
kidding.
Guardians 3 one day.
You're allowed
Oh my
to be
god.
wrong. It's okay.
Still like a lot of Guardians 3. I mean, hilariously, a lot of the things come from this. One of the funny things is Adam Warlock, honestly, because I haven't read the Infinity War comics, but Adam Warlock, from what I understand, is a big part of it. And
Oh, yeah, for
it
sure.
seemed like Captain Marvel, they were trying to prop up into something like his role in Endgame and be like, hey,
I think
she's the one who's gonna save the
probably
day.
Adam
And
Warlock would have been part of Infinity War had James Gunn not been fired, because he always planned to make the Guardians trilogy, before Infinity War, so he would have established Adam Warlock, because obviously there's the post-credit scene in Guardians 2, and then he's introducing Guardians 3, and then he can be part of the Avengers in
yeah,
Infinity War. But they fired James Gunn.
which
Honestly, them firing James Gunn is like probably the worst thing they did in the MCU because it fucked over so many things.
you fucking telling me. And now they've made their best competitors because
Yeah,
it's so funny. I'm telling you, the only solution is to reboot. You have
yeah.
to salt the fucking earth and start over from scratch. And the only thing to do as well is to have everyone be established because now what DC has clearly set a precedent of is non-origin stories with
Yeah.
Superman. It's like, hey, 3 years. And I'm like, everyone's probably going to be like that. Everyone's going to be young, but still established and green, which makes enough sense. But I'm like, do what X-Men 97 did. Just have the world already established and just have characters just show up. But because that's the thing, like Doctor Doom, like we're introducing Doctor Doom as the final villain in the MCU in Phase 5, building into Phase 6, and I'm like, Doctor Doom has not been in any of the movies.
Mm.
He just had his
I
first
mean,
cameo,
yeah, fucking
and I
Fantastic Four. He was not looking at the camera because they couldn't pay Robert Downey Jr. It's so funny.
exactly. It's like, who knows what I don't. And what does that even mean? He's just like Franklin Roosevelt's like touching his, or fucking Richards is like touching his goddamn face. It's like, what are we doing? What does he have to do with like hell? Like I know no one wants Doctor Doom to be the villain of the Fantastic Four movie because he's always the villain. But I'm
Yeah,
like, that's because they did him bad.
yeah.
Why couldn't you just have him
Why could
be
you
the villain
just
of
do him
Fantastic Four
good and
first
then
steps?
you build
Why,
up to
yeah,
Doomsday? Yeah.
yeah, exactly. But
Again, it's a movie that is too
I,
afraid to be of being bad that it never becomes good. They were like, nope, we gotta play it safe. Gotta do Galactus, because Galactus is more. It's a lot easier to write because it's just like he eats worlds.
well, not to mention what's happened from Kang. That's the only reason why we're getting Doctor Doom in the first
Yeah,
place.
that was
Like
another thing that
they
fucked
dropped
Marvel
that.
over is Jonathan Majors being a creep and then yeah, being fired. It's a whole thing as well. Um, Getting back to Endgame, we branched out into many larger MCU topics, but I was because one of I really love the Guardians characters. All of them. The Guardians movies are like my sweethearts. Guardians 2 is probably the most one of the most important films I've ever seen. Like for my life. I've told you the story. The Guardians 2 is the film that made me realize I wanted to become a filmmaker. So I really care a lot about those characters. I love all of them so much. And I was watching Endgame, and I was like, the Guardians are the best. I mean, the Guardians that are alive, the Nebula and Rocket. I would say they're probably the best characters in the movie. Other than maybe Natasha, I guess. Um, just because like the way they're reacting seems to be how they would react. And Nebula actually has an arc, and we see Rocket like being heartbroken from losing his entire family. Like there things there that I can grasp onto. And I think it's because they were probably the most well realized before the Infinity War and Endgame, that when it got to that point they knew where to take those characters, like even if they only briefly touched on that. But it frustrates me to no end the way that movie treats certain things. Like so Quill sees Gamora and he's like, "Oh my god, I thought I lost you. You're alive." And she just kicks him in the nuts.
Yeah, and then they make a joke of it basically, and they
Yeah,
just move
she's like,
on.
"Oh, is
And
that the
I
one? Oh, is that the one?" And Nebula's like, "Your choices with that or a tree," which is a line Nebula would say. I feel like that dialogue is fine between the two.
it's kind of funny.
It's just the thing of like, why does she kick him in the nuts? She knows who Quill is because Nebula told him apparently. Like Gamora would not
Well,
act like that.
no, this is a problem that I have with Guardians 3, and it ties into this, but I'm like, she doesn't act like 2014 Gamora. 2014 Gamora is the same one that they met, and she was about to betray Thanos when she
Yeah.
got like what she needed for a payday. So I'm like, why is she acting so fucking like animalistic? It's kind of insane just how like unhinged Gamora acts inside of Guardians 3 and like a decent bit in Endgame. So
Yeah, I don't agree with that with
oh
Guardians 3, but
lordy.
in Endgame, the thing is for me is that like Gamora would not kick him in the nuts. She may like grab his
No.
wrist and be like,
It's
"Don't touch me," something more understated. But they needed a joke, and it just
yeah,
like
she doesn't even
after
say
that,
anything.
yeah, and after
So
that, all we get from like Quill and Gamora is that he's searching for her in the Bowie, and that's it. Like just like
yeah,
the movie ends when he's like searching for her, and then he just like swipes away to hide from the rest of the Guardians, which it just makes you think, oh, so you're not gonna explore the impact of her actually still being alive? In the one of the things I love about the holiday special is that Quill is fucking heartbroken by Gamora being dead.
yeah,
It's like
yeah.
he's full on depressive, and it's the same in Guardians 3. He's like gone down a depressive spiral. He's started drinking and he's like fucked up because she was the love of his life. And there's like he lost his world even though they saved the universe. And Endgame just like makes a joke of it. It's just like so many of these things in the Endgame where it's just like you're just acknowledging it by like lampshading it. You know what I mean? Just like addressing it, but then
Yeah.
like moving on. And you're like, if you and fucking like for example Drax, right? They literally killed Thanos, and Thanos like Drax
Yeah.
never reacts to it in
He
Endgame.
never
Does Drax
well,
have a line in Endgame? I don't think he has any lines.
he might
Oh, he has a
not,
line.
other
He
than
has
maybe on
like
the
two
very
lines in the
end.
ship. Yeah, when Thor is talking
Yeah.
to Quill, it's so fucking. It annoys me. Like you have characters who have, and it's a bigger problem, right? With just the movie in general that doesn't just tie in with the Guardians, and it ties more into the stupidity of what they did with Thanos, I think, which is them using 2014 Thanos, meaning he has no personal connection to any of these characters
Yeah.
because it's
It,
emblematic. It's exemplified by the lines. Right by the line from Scarlet Witch, you took everything from
I
me,
don't
and
even
he
know.
says,
Yeah.
"I don't even know who you are." It's like, yeah, you
It
took away all the history. This is so much cheaper, so much less impactful because it's not the same.
Well, this is the thing about this movie. I mention all the time that I'm like, I don't like proposing rewrites for stories because you never know. It's like, hey, it would have been a better movie if they just did it. Like, you don't know how it would have been if it were written differently. But my rewrite of the MCU from Endgame is to make a post snap phase.
Yeah,
And my thing there is it's like, so they even set it up in the movie. I think what happens early on makes a lot of sense. Like, just go back, get the stones, like snap everybody back just like that. It's like, yeah, just like that. But instead, they had it said that like Thanos nearly killed himself and got so that's another thing with this movie. They clearly got rid of the stones to get rid of the stones, and they use the term like reduced to atoms. So it's like, aren't they like the foundations of the unit? Like it's like maybe they didn't like physically get destroyed. They just like lost their like physical form, even though they're
yeah.
still out there. So it's like one way or another, they wanted to get rid of the stones, which makes a lot of sense. But doing both of them, so I'm just like, instead of that, have it so that they can't defeat Thanos. Like he's just basically God and he won't kill them and he just deters them away and it's just like, leave. I won't fight and you can't
Well,
beat me.
it's the
There's
whole
nothing you can
thing,
do to stop
right?
me.
It's because
And
it's such a cold line when they say like Captain Marvel's like the whole planet's unguarded. There's no troops nor anything. It's just him down there. And Nebula says, and that's all he needs. It's like, oh, that's a cold ass
yeah,
line. And then when they get there, he's like, nope, just kill me. Who cares? It's like,
yeah. I so what I think would have been so interesting about that, because in this movie they commit for 5 years, but it's like that way you could have had the entire MCU phase where Thanos was still out there, and it's like, why don't they undo it? I'm like, they can, and they can't stop him. So you would be stuck with what Thanos had done for maybe even 5 years, and you could have built up to this. And what I've proposed is, I'm like, imagine Tony confronting him in just like a plain suit and tie. Like he goes down in like a ship, and like Thanos is like expecting another fight, like a rematch, and he's like, "You're wrong. Your philosophy is wrong, and I can prove it." Because that's what sucks so much about Thanos getting killed and then just replaced with 2014, like more generic Thanos, is it's just that you lose the philosophical edge that the
Yeah.
character had.
Well,
People
he's
like
just
Thanos
like,
because of his principles and
yeah.
how he reacted to situations. And without him and just a more generic, just warlord Thanos, it's
Yeah,
like,
Thanos is
what's
like,
this
oh,
movie
I'm gonna
about?
destroy the universe and create a new, better one. It's like, oh, you could have just done that. Okay. I mean, yeah,
I
sure.
guess he just, I guess he, after seeing what became of Earth,
Well, but it's the thing,
after
like,
he
he thought
snapped,
people
he's
would be
like,
grateful. Like, what do you mean? It's been 5 years. Do you expect everyone to just move on from everyone dying? Like,
I,
the impact
or
of what Thanos
idols,
did
like,
needs to, like, for him to actually think, like, oh my god, nobody moved on. It needed to be, like, hundreds of years. It couldn't be, like, 5 years. It's stupid. It's a stupid way to explore Thanos' character and completely mischaracterizes him.
yeah, it's a shame what became of him. Because he is a really interesting part of Infinity
Yeah.
War and one of the best
Yeah, it's like
elements of
people
it.
say, he's
And
basically the protagonist of that movie.
yeah, to take away that character's agency and just get rid of what, like, and just remove what made them interesting for the sake of just turning the third act into like a giant action figure fight, because it is what it feels like. It's just like all the action figures against all the other action figures, that it's like, well, what else are you going to do in a movie with a cast as big as this? I'm like, I don't know, what are they going to do in Avengers Doomsday? Because now they have all the same problems this movie ran into, but now the cast doesn't have half the development that they used to. So surely it's just going to feel like a huge, big old cast of people just doing stuff and things in the MCU. And I'm like, I don't know, I don't think it's going to work out too well.
Yeah. Um, wow, an hour and a half discussion already. Yeah, I don't know. I feel like we've covered fairly well most of our issues with Endgame and the impact it's had on the MCU. um, I don't know if
Yeah,
there's
I
much
think
else you want to say because obviously it was your idea, so maybe there's still stuff that's itching on your mind for you for us to talk about.
like we could explore more of the snap. I've thought of doing a video or just a discussion, but I'm just like, I have thought intricately about like what would happen after the snap and like what the world would look like in that like 5 years, and like it'd be insane. So I could talk about that kind of a thing all day, but yeah, this movie, just in large part, I've always like, I'm sure everyone has their own opinion about where like the MCU dropped off, but the way that I look at the modern MCU with the faces we've had is that the problems all stem back to this movie.
Yeah.
And it's why I'm so disinterested. And I don't even have like a some big beef with Marvel or anything like that. I just don't think their movies are very good, and I don't really watch them regularly
Yeah.
anymore, which sucks because they were such a phenomenon back in the day.
Yeah.
They Everyone stayed, wanted to watch the MCU movies, talked about them, like they made discussions and people were interested in them and interested in seeing where they went. But now it's just a shell of its former self, and the only thing I see is a reboot, which is so funny because DC used to be behind Marvel,
Yep.
and now they've rebooted, and DC
Everyone's
is
more
kind of
positive
king
about it.
because
Yeah.
everyone's more interested in Superman and the Batman, and they're not in the same
Yeah,
world,
people
but
like
it's like,
Peacemaker. People were genuinely excited for Supergirl. It's actually crazy. The
yeah,
announcement post James Gunn did for Supergirl got so many views, so many likes really quickly. It's like holy shit! People are very interested. People are really looking forward to more DCU films. People do not care about new Marvel movie.
Yeah. Who the hell knows? But we got what's the next one coming out? Because I think Fantastic Four is the last this year,
I'm pretty
right?
sure it's Doomsday. Pretty
Really?
sure, yeah.
What?
MCU
How?
film
How? Is that wait?
2026. Yeah, it's
No, but that's coming out.
Doomsday and Brand New Day in Brand New Day, yeah.
Jesus, we're getting the Spider-Man
So
movie,
Brand New
bro.
Day, okay, Brand New Day is on July. Jesus Christ. Okay, sorry, it's because they started filming that so recently, but the movie's gonna come out
Yeah.
on July 31st. Okay.
It's they got like less than a year to do all the post production and finish the
Well,
goddamn
they still
thing. It's
haven't
like, what
finished
the
shooting.
fuck?
What the fuck? Okay.
Yeah.
Marvel, whatever. Fine, whatever. And Doomsday is gonna come out on December 18th.
Yeah, like Christmas-ish
Yeah.
release. Like,
Okay.
good luck, MCU.
Yeah.
The ship
I mean, this
seems
is
to
the
be
whole thing of
sinking.
like, and it's just one of the things that James Gunn has said. Like, we're not gonna start shooting a movie if we don't have a script done. And it's just like it is such a low bar. But yeah,
Yeah.
just do that. You know what I mean? Like they're shooting fucking they've started shooting Doomsday like a couple months ago and they still have not had a finished script. They're still writing it to this day. It's insane. Oh, it's such a
Well, and
mess.
like it's a fucking closing thing off because I briefly mentioned X-Men 97. Like X-Men 97, we'll probably talk about that one day.
Yeah.
X-Men 97 is one of my favorite pieces of media in the last 10 years. And I consider it better than like anything the MCU has made. And like, regardless of anything with Bo DeMaio, he has been fired. Like the lead writer was fired from that project. And now we're getting a season 2. And I'm like, I expect season 2 to kind of be a cataclysm. It'll surely have like still pretty solid dialogue or pretty solid
Animation.
voice acting and animation. But the thing about that series is it was built from Bo DeMaio's script Bible. He had written out the story. He'd pitched 5 seasons, I think, and he had a clear idea of where he wanted the story to go, what he wanted to do with season 1. And I'm like, that's what I see as the large success of X-Men 97 is the fact that they focused the project around the story and around the characters. And the MCU, they've not been in that like mindset for a very long time. And now they just announce these projects and they come out and they get shot and they're just like, we're making a new Spider-Man movie, a new Avengers movie,
Yeah.
rather than a
Well,
story about the Avengers or
it
a story
became
about Peter Parker.
just, like a factory, just pumping out products. It's not like they're not making
Yeah.
movies anymore. They're not making art or telling stories. They're making products. And that got very clear with the phase 4 and how people saw those movies as sludge. But the thing is, right? It's still going even though like, oh, Fantastic Four is, not bad. It's the same issues. They've just made the movies look more like movies. They just made them feel more appealing, but it's the same kind of issues of like not telling very interesting or well thought out stories, not exploring their characters very well, playing it safe. It's the same thing. Spider-Man's playing it safe too. I mean, might do something interesting. It's Destin Daniel Cretton, so who knows? But I don't know. It, it feels like it's a lot of just like making making content, making products, and not making movies, which is a shame. Whereas at least the DCU, like James Gunn's like, no, we're gonna make movies. Every movie is gonna have its distinct style. It's gonna have its own distinct identity, and the directors are gonna
Well,
put their own artistic vibe into it, and that's great. That's what I want.
Well, I mean, that's the funny thing about Superman is like we talked about Superman. I don't even love that movie as much as a lot of people do, and I think it's flawed. But the flaws are flaws that are like traced back to the filmmaker. You
Yeah.
know, it's like that's the thing about good movies that are like bad movies like should be bad for interesting reasons. Should be bad because of like the
Mm.
director's vision or like what they shouldn't be because you can tell they just like slapped it together
Because
and
they
rushed to
didn't care
production and
because it
didn't
was
really care about the
directed by
story.
Kevin Feige.
Yeah, exactly. And it's just like I long for movies like that I dislike for interesting reasons
Mm.
or am like curious about. So
Yeah. I mean, that's what I feel
God,
about
what
like Nope. Like it's a movie I don't like, but it's like it's a filmmaker's
I still
movie.
always find that so funny that you really don't like that
Yeah.
movie. I'm like, I
I've
dug my
watched it.
rewatch, but
Yeah,
yeah,
I've
no,
watched it many
it's
times. I
Peel.
tried, but it's Pio. You know, he's trying to say something. I mean, it's the same for us. I really don't like us, and I think we both
Yeah,
agree
we
it's his
share
worst.
that. That's he's a really interesting comparison where it's like you can tell like his movies are all shot really well. They look
Hmm.
really good, but like he has really wild ideas.
Yeah,
He's like, he Twilight Zone inspired and all
and
that
he
stuff,
commits
and
to
some of his
his
ideas
ideas,
don't
and
quite work. Yeah.
sometimes they don't work. Like with us, I just don't think his ideas work at all. But it's still an interesting film to talk about, especially because like what it's talking about in terms of like society is interesting. You know, like it's saying something. It's a bad movie, but for interesting reasons. I would much rather rewatch Nope than let me think of an MCU film. Fucking, I don't know, Multiverse of Madness. To be fair, that movie's probably one
Yeah.
of the most interesting of post Endgame ones.
Well,
Um,
Black Widow, that's a
Black
great
Widow,
example.
yeah,
Just
that's the perfect slop example. Yeah, I would much rather
yeah,
watch Us, a movie that I really don't like, than watch Black Widow ever again. So yeah,
yeah.
I mean, it's the thing. I think
MC
Fantastic Four is a pretty decent movie, but I am certain that from now to the end of my life, I am going to watch Us more times than I'm going to watch Fantastic Four. I'm certain of it. I am certain of it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, not like much of a draw for rewatchability.
Yeah,
I know the feeling.
yeah. Well, and it's like the
All
thing with
right.
Endgame because like we were talking about it, and it was just like you didn't rewatch the movie. It was just like it's not the movie you kind of need to. We know that movie well enough, and it's like
Yeah,
you're not gonna gain anything new. You know, the movie isn't deep, isn't trying to say anything. It's all there's hidden
yeah,
details. Everything is on it, is on your face. There's no like
like
subtext.
like I was mentioning, like the scene with this mob and like glossing over it. Like I know that there is like I'd probably be entertained in large part,
Hmm.
and I do remember this movie very well. But I'm like, and I like giving movies a fair shot. But I'm like, yeah, I know enough of what I need to know,
Yeah,
and the things we've been talking about are more like ripple effects of how this has affected the MCU and like where they are now. But I just really have never vibed with it, and I it's not something that warrants a lot of rewatch for me.
yeah. And it's weird. I still really like Endgame. I rewatched it and I had fun. I like seeing the characters. I like doing cool stuff. There are many
Well,
moments that are frustrating. I don't think it's a good movie, but it's fun. I have fun. But it's like
it is it's satisfying.
yeah,
It's meant to be popcorn entertainment,
yeah.
so you give them
It's
credit for that.
satisfying in any way, many ways. It's just there are also many ways where it frustrates me. It's not a movie I would say, oh my god, like watching it in theaters like opening day was one of my favorite movie going
Yeah.
experiences of all time. But
Yeah, everyone was into it, and it's
yeah,
like it was a huge opening
yeah,
weekend, like a huge movie. I still remember that. It's great.
yeah. But when I rewatch it, like there are many, like for one, the movie just it drags. The second act drags
Yeah.
so much, and it's just like a lot of the time I'm just like I want to skip the scene. You know what I mean? There's like genuinely bad, really bad moments. So it's like it's a movie that doesn't age well at all, and it was an event movie, and it proves I think Scorsese's point about like popcorn entertainment being like roller coasters. I think which I know MCU fans are going to be very upset that I'm saying this, but whatever. It is a
Well, I
roller
was
coaster
never a
movie.
fan of that word, like the not cinema
Yeah.
thing. It's
Well, I
stupid
don't even
shit.
care
But
about
what
saying
his
not
point
cinema, but his point about it being just like roller coasters and not actually like art. I agree with it, and it is what the MCU has become.
Yeah, it's true as well that like, something like Top Gun Maverick is a summer blockbuster that's in like the same league as something like Jaws. Like those are what summer movies used to be, and now they're mainly populated by movies like this,
Yeah,
and these movies don't offer all that much. And it's ironic too because that's my problem with Superman is like I wish there was more character material. I wish the movie slowed down more. It's a very fast, very exciting roller coaster movie, and superhero movies should be that. Like they're driven largely by the action appeal and the artwork, so it makes sense to make them entertaining films. Like these movies are based on comic books, but in terms of like substance that they offer, the MCU is more roller coaster than it has ever been.
yeah, for sure. Well, I think
So
I
yeah.
think I think that's it. I think we did it.
Yeah, I think I figured we might talk like longer. I was thinking we might go like 4 hours or something like that, but I think we talked about the macros with this
Yeah.
and with the modern MCU. Maybe make up a little because we haven't seen a lot of the MCU movies or shows that have been coming out
Yeah.
recently. But like I said, I think this gives you a pretty decent illustration of why we've kind of grown disinterested and don't regularly watch the MCU anymore.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I stopped watching the shows a while back, other than Born Again. Um, but the movies, I didn't skip too many movies. I think I didn't watch Thunderbolts. There was another one that I didn't watch from last year. What was it?
I
Uh,
didn't watch Love and Thunder. I didn't
I
watch the
oh
Marvels.
yeah, you missed
No Brave New World.
a lot of movies. Hold on. Films. So 2023 was Quantumania. Actually, the only movie I seem to have
Never
missed is
saw that.
Thunderbolts. Oh, Thunderbolts
I
and
didn't
Brave New
see.
World. I forgot that movie exists. Thunderbolts and Brave New World. Yeah.
Yeah, I never watched Guardians 3. I watched. Hell, is that the? I watched No Way Home.
Mm,
Those might be. I could check, but
yeah.
I have
Guardians 3 was the last one
faded
in
away.
terms of you watching. Well, I mean, obviously Deadpool and Wolverine. I forgot. You made us watch that
Oh yeah,
stupid
yeah.
film. God damn it.
Oh lordy.
Yeah. Yeah, I watched Quantumania in theaters. That was great.
Yeah, I that and Multiverse of Madness I was so disinterested in, and everything just looked like the most fan servicey who gives a shit, so that's why I never cared. Ah,
Yeah.
Avengers Endgame. What an event that did not age particularly well. I still remember seeing this in theaters and it was exciting and cool, but man, as the years have gone on, it's not that good. Would you recommend Avengers Endgame, Sky?
Yeah, well, that is how we roll around here, right? Would you recommend? Oh, Evan, that is such an interesting question. Would I recommend Avengers Endgame? Probably not. 6 years removed from it, I really don't think there's much to gain from it. There's some satisfying moments and conclusions, especially for Captain America and Tony, but very much just like not that uh just not not a good movie. Just outright. I
Well,
think
it's
it's pretty
just
bad.
it's just one of those things where I'd recommend Infinity War instead. I'm like Infinity War is a better film. It feels more like a film, and these were originally conceived as a two-parter, like Infinity War Part 1 and Part 2,
Yeah.
and it didn't quite happen that way, but I'm just like, I would recommend Infinity War far more than I recommend this. So
Oh yeah, Infinity War has a lot more to chew on. It's a much better movie all around, with a lot of issues too, but just better, just way better.
yeah.
Yeah. All
All
right. Well,
right. That's Endgame. That's
that's Endgame, guys. We did it. I hope you enjoyed our special little year anniversary episode where we talk about the MCU. We'll probably not talk too much on this podcast. Like we said, we only covered Eternals and Deadpool and Wolverine, and
yeah,
yeah,
if any of you were like itching for like us to talk about the MCU, I hope this
yeah,
like
this
kind of
probably is a good fix.
makes up
But
for it. Yeah.
yeah, we're not probably gonna cover it too much in the future. I mean, we're probably gonna cover Doomsday, right? Like we're gonna probably watch that and cover it.
When we get there, yeah,
Yeah,
who
because now I was
knows?
just
I
thinking about it. It's like it's Doomsday. It's gonna be a big event. We have to, but yeah. Other than that, I don't know. I find it very hard to like actually care much about things. Oh, Born Again was also MCU to be fair. So yeah, season two is
yeah,
gonna be out
yeah, I
next
was
year.
thinking
So
about
maybe
that.
yeah.
Holy lordy. We'll see how that turns out. It'd be the new filmmakers, and they'll like
Yeah,
have their
yeah,
clear vision from beginning to end. Maybe that'll help. Hopefully it'll help.
yeah. So yeah, I don't know. Maybe some more MCU stuff. Very much not as much as like other pop culture podcasts we like to cover our, less well known movies here. Like we just covered The Seventh Seal, which is not a, an unknown movie, but covering a 1957 Swedish film.
Yeah, like not
Much
not
more
many people
our
are
vibe.
jumping to
Yeah.
make. Yeah, yeah. You don't get a lot of like super old fashioned retrospective movies, and that's
Yeah.
what I like about the podcast as
Yeah.
well. Is that we just talk about whatever.
Yeah.
Sometimes we cover like newer movies, and sometimes we just go way back in time. We're just like, you know what?
It's
Let's check
fucking
out this old
hilarious,
fashioned movie. It
right?
always works out.
We have an episode where we covered Nosferatu, the original from 1929, and Joker Folie à Deux on the same
Yeah,
episode. It's
exactly.
like an insane double feature.
Weird combo to say the least.
Yeah, so you know that's the spectrum here from Nosferatu to Joker Folie à Deux. We can cover anything. That's how we like it. All right, folks. Thank you. Genuinely, thank you for your support for the last year. It has been so much fun. I've enjoyed this podcast so much. We've kept it consistent, like you said, Evan. It's kind of crazy. This will be episode what 54 when it's out, I think, which is like shows.
Yeah, 54-3. Yeah,
I think 54, which shows that we did more than one a week, which is very funny because you know
exactly.
we missed 2 weeks, and then there were a few weeks where oh yeah, this is gonna be 53. So we missed 2 weeks. One because I was sick, and two because I was sick. But the second one where I was sick, we had the pistol episode to release, so we actually didn't miss that week. And we've had a couple weeks where we had double episodes, like with the covering Superman and K-pop Demon Hunters, and then the Amazing Spider-Man the same week as a Rear Window. So you know we've had our double
Arcs, ups
our
and
arcs,
downs,
yeah.
bizarre. Yeah.
It's been great. I've been enjoying it so much. It's gotten me passionate about movies again. So I'm just happy we've been able to do this. And yeah, folks, we hope to see you again in a year from now with episode like 106 or something, and just talking about movies still. So yeah, thank you genuinely for your support. It's been great.
Thank you indeed.
Yeah. So we'll see you tomorrow. Yeah, tomorrow you're gonna get the seventh seal. I just realized this will be releasing one day before. So yeah, tomorrow you're gonna get the regularly scheduled programming with the seventh seal. And kicking off what I'm calling our second season, because why not? So yeah. See you later, folks. I hope you enjoyed the seventh seal episode. I hope you enjoyed our discussion, and we hope you keep watching for however long we go on for with this podcast. So yeah, thank you.
Yes, indeed. Thank you very much, all.
Bye bye.